All right, welcome, my brother. Let's pick up. I was really looking forward to this today, dude. I loved our last interview. I think you're really authentic. You got a good vibe, and it's a real like spiritual monk vibe. I don't mean that
Well,
negative way at all. I just think it's really cool. You got
oh yeah, thank you, thank you. I mean that from the heart. Thank you. And same with you. I feel a kindred spirit, and I just want you to keep on and just don't give up. You're really onto something. Just keep unraveling. You
I
really
hope,
are.
man. I wish I could do more. That's the thing, though. Like to me,
Mhm.
running and losing, and then doing a YouTube show, but not being out there helping. I just wish I had resources so I could
Mhm.
do more. I feel trapped. I feel like I'm in a cage.
Yes, 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 yes.
But anyway, man, you brought up some interesting points. Let me go back uh, in my notes over here. Uh, okay, you touched on if I can read my handwriting.
I have the same issue with mine all the time. There's my little notes
I
all
don't
the
know if
time. Like,
you can read this chicken scratch, but I mean,
oh
let's
yes, yes, yes.
undisturbed continuum, cosmic river, cosmic source, secret technologies, talking about China taking over Tibet, knowledge of monasteries, locked doorways. Let's pick up on that. You mean
Hmm.
that in the literal sense, huh? There are some sort of locked doorways under Tibetan monasteries.
Ooh, that's fascinating to touch up on. Yes, that's a literal physical doors, vaults, as well spiritual, but it's actually physical as well. A good example was there's some hidden vaults, for example, listed from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They literally sampled this at the Sabada Swami temple in India. It's one of the hidden temples, for example. Under it, for example, there's like certain locked vaults, and the last one they have not gotten open. So there's certain vaults and or doorways such as this under a certain temple. And that's just one example that there's certain doorways that cannot be physically forced open yet at least, and or they're just kept secret from the public. And that, it goes much more than just one or two monasteries. That's
And
just like
China knows this, right? That's why they took advantage of all this. That's why they
yes,
absorbed Tibet.
definitely, definitely, yes,
It was right there on their border. They just annexed it and drew it in. Typical
yes.
China. They're trying to go after Taiwan and Japan. Um, Wonderful. That's really, really interesting. I also want to make a side note. Is it true all the things I hear about monks in that area, in the Himalayan area, using vibrations to move boulders, if you will?
Yes, yes, okay. Yes, there's actual evidence to this, and there's actually truth to this, and it can be backed up fundamentally through evidence and science that this is possible. Levitation, to put it crudely, telekinesis, and/or this arts such as Tumo or Tonglen, to give the more precise names of what is going on dynamically with their energy and a microcosmic order and function. So this has a lot to do with torsion field physics in a way.
Yes.
So what we're doing a lot is recreating what's already possible within our body. And this seems fundamentally easier as a species to do this, to create rather than already dig into what's inside. So the fact that we're able to do this means it comes from somewhere, and the fact that it's already been done before by different species. They feel that if they lend a hand doing it this way, it kills, and crudely speaking, different birds of the same stone, so to speak. It serves its purpose, and it gives us what we want. Very crudely speaking, though, and that's not what we're because it should be done right with evolution, and this has a lot to do with evolution. Actually, it really does. And the fear impacting us today actually is distracting us completely. The same exact
I
process that monks do.
Yes, that's what we were touching on before. I completely agree. All of this fear mongering does not allow, it hinders progression of the
Yes.
human species. It hinders elevation of consciousness. It hinders the linear progression of technology. You know, it's sickening, and that's why all I want to do on this channel is have a hyper focus on what actually matters and this arrested development, if you will. I like to use that saying, but
Yes.
where humanity should be. And what I love to say, and I'm a broken record, I always say that humanity it should just be common that we are spacefaring and cancer free. We should
Yes.
be so much further along, but there's so many people that uh, um, or in control of what can be publicized and what can be expounded on in the mainstream, and they deem any sort of cure or any sort of zero energy or zero petroleum technology disruptive technologies, and it's either
Yes.
suppressed, those people are killed, i.e. Stanley Myers and the guy that invented that easy water. But yes, so can you explain to us, can you touch on what a torsion field is, and perhaps if you do know how to achieve it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Ooh, have you heard of this is gonna circle back to this. Have you heard of Mark Cummings and
Mark
what happened?
Cummings?
Yes.
Maybe, I don't know,
He
make a note of him.
Yes, he found a way to make free electricity using quartz and or electric coils and or stones. And within hours of doing so, Mark Cummings, one of the few that he found a source of free energy, natural. And within a few hours of doing so, the CSI or FBI or some type of organization came to his door and just took everything. That's the concept, though. Some secret organization just took everything. And that's documented. No one knows whom the organization was, but they took everything that he found and as a source of free energy. So I put this out there because even scientifically and or through meditation, and it is obvious that it's been discovered that it's possible. But of course, they try to mainstream a way to do it. Of course, it makes it so much easier for them. And so, okay, so torsion field physics really is it's considered a form of pseudoscience, of course, pseudoscientific terminology. The point being is that, and this is touching actually a lot on the undisturbed continuum, if you will. Torsion field physics has a lot to do with the spin-spin concept. Basically, if there's a field of energy that keeps on spinning on its own, it doesn't need anything else, and it can be independent upon itself by itself. Its own field of torsion that's just sustaining itself. And this can be applied to meditation and or technology. And that's why everywhere we start hearing about this concept with whether it be AI or machinery and or the soul, because really that's the concept here through quantum true meditation is trying to unlock that inner microcosmic order, that micro orbit that we have already inside of us, creating this torsion field. And a lot of it has to do with the myth yet truth of the pineal gland, a lot of it. So we hear a lot about the pineal gland, a lot, and what is it, what is exactly, and what is it, its relevancy to us in every single way, how is it connected? And the pineal gland is just completely, and in Sanskrit and or the Tibet we call this the Tigle Tongme Drangma, and or this reference to this luminescent light that connects to everything. So in the scientific community, it'd be a machine that's capable of a self-sustaining spinning cycle and or torsion field cycle. But this as well can be reached within the body and mind and spirit harmoniously, just and harmoniously together with undisturbed continuum. And that's the concept of Tantra and or these deep meditative practices. And one can definitely achieve this on their own. It does not have to be considered miraculous and or magical. And this is furthermore just blaspheming the point in a way, and it doesn't not have to cost money. It doesn't have to have some complex way or math involved. It's already within us. There's ways to do this through what would be considered yoga or meditation, but America and the Western has an unspecified, not well documentation of what yoga and or meditation really understands and or means. So really, true meditation or yoga is unlocking that inner torsion field access within us. It is definitely possible. There's definitely actual techniques to do so. And all the more right now, its relevancy to meditation is key. Because right now, that's either going to make us or break us. Dig into the fear and or some kind of link to AI, which is completely not right and unacceptable in the evolution of humanity in a true pristine way. That's not the pristine method. That's almost in without realizing it in servitude to other beings without realizing it. So that's the thing. That's the concept here. If we really want to dig into our own freedom, our own way of getting out of this trap, we want to get out of this soul trap. We want to get out of this life and death cycle. We want to remember our past lives. Our own torsion field within us can be reached, dug deep. And this is how we remember past lives. This is how we remember, okay, whom was I before? Whom was this? Whom was that? Because it's all linked energy. And this has a lot to do with the continuum of thyself and thy energy. So this is part of it completely. It comes with symptoms and phenomena and transcendence, but really it's evolution. So it's no more bizarre than what is being right now just composed in the making with, Neuralink and link with AI and artificial intelligence and different beings. But the most pristine, pure way is this way, truly.
That was really neat. Um, I want to talk about a couple of different things. Knowledge of the monasteries. I made a note of that. What
Hmm.
all kind of, for, I guess, Western way to describe it is forbidden knowledge were they touching on? Like what are all these secrets? What are all these subjects that they were really keen on?
Okay, fascinating. Yes, 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 yes. Well, a lot of it has to do with the knowledge of the pharaohs. I'm going to touch upon this, and there's a linkage. A lot of it has to do with Egypt, and it has a lot of relevant knowledge here. The pharaohs of Egypt and the people of Egypt pretty much roughly knew, if not the exact same, but just in another manner, the same concept as Tibet. So this is key to understand in this evolution and what's the building blocks in the pyramid of what's coming and what's already around us. So the pharaohs and Egypt at one time was a great civilization, and there's many hands to point to this, And but they were this knowledge was suppressed and used, and has a lot to do with this, with this plan, this, put lightly, this cult, whatever it's called. That, I don't like to name anyone because that name is even not to me. And point being, has a lot to do with these pharaohs and this line, this of knowledge. It has a lot to do with keeping knowledge, and even in the eye of the dollar bill and all, there's hints everywhere that it goes back to Egypt and or the pharaohs. And so the only ones that other ones that knew this knowledge was Tibet and India and of the Hindu society. Another ones that have briefly touched on it is Native Americans and anyone that's with a true source but they had no lineage, none at all. So this was impossible to keep with anything that found it before. So the most relative terms were Tibet, India, that we refer to in this deciphering. So to understand what's going on, it's best to look at these civilizations and or these empires that have discovered this information before and how it's being used, because they've already found it in the way. So they can content it and moderate it. They can control the evolution because this civilization has already found that in a way. It should be our turn to evolve in a better, more pristine way, but that's problematic.
I understand. How do we do this? How do we evolve in a more pristine way? This is my main objective. This is what I'm
Yes,
trying to
yes.
enlighten people with this channel. This is why I have you on here to pull out
Mm.
this knowledge in your head and give it to a more broad group of people so that they can take it, metabolize with it, live a better life.
Yes.
What do we
Interesting
do?
fact. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, what do we do? How do we make society better with all these encumbrances? How do we
Yes.
outmaneuver this?
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. And that definitely should be the tasks of our collective humanity to dig into this beautiful, spontaneous act of solidarity with love and compassion and meditative concentration. And this is key to a point to understand. And I feel this is also helpful. All those vaults that you mentioned earlier, these secret passages, a lot of them were legally taken over by the royal family for some reason. Late last year, legally speaking, before much excavations could be done, the royal family wanted ownership of some of these vaults. I just want to throw it out there. For some reason, the royal family got true ownership of these vaults, or some of them are access to it. So no one now can really legally go in there except the royal family with some connection to them and or China. So that's been successfully done in a way to help hide these secrets all the more. To put it in the hands of high pharaonic people, to put it in a light term right now, just light. So what we all can do is literally and quite literally, metaphysically, an alchemical process, and it's not difficult. Is and especially the time we're in is unlock our inner torsion field and or unlock our inner self, because the more we distract ourselves from our inward gazing, the more we distract ourselves from looking in, all the more we're not going to find these answers, and the more we're going to dig into fear, anger, riots, even these beautiful ideas of protest or be turned against people because of a higher being power and or planted strategic ways and or the implementations of this. It's well thought out, it's planned. But one thing they cannot see coming literally is our own force, our own torsion field, if you will. So AI or anything like that, they've found a way out because it's already been done through past civilizations. But if they can change it, of course, we're going to be in their favor. If they can change how we do it, and if we feel that this is completely right, we're not going to see it's wrong, and we're still going to see a hint of the symptoms, but completely for them and or at their mercy, so to speak. So to completely break out of this trap is to truly dig into our divine true selves, this pristine rigpa meaning awareness, true awareness of self. So, for example, a good concept, I'm going to bring this up a lot of, is a term that we use a lot is sky gazing and or dark room therapy. Now, what does this have to do with anything? It has to do with the concept of the metaphor of achieving this continuum. So during these meditative continuums or retreats or sky gazing, and I'll touch on this very detailedly actually in a good summary, that during these retreats or sky gazing or darkroom therapy, there's ways to reach in and really bring it out. I'm gonna say this, very well. The Sami Lang Monastery in Europe. There's a renowned monastery over there, and it's current and it's is deceased. The founder was Chogyam Trungpa. Chogyam Trungpa was the founder of the Sami Lang Monastery. Now he was in a dark room retreat, which has to do with the details of putting everything in pitch black. You're in a dark room. You can use the bathroom under food. It's served to you and you have it there, but it's pitch black. Now, the reason being for pitch black and you want to be in a dark room for this is it's an example. Because when people have realized, and in science, and Harvard University has realized, and monks have realized, when deprived of light and or kept into one color spectrum of visual field, um, the picture and or the mind will merge in so to speak. So Chagram Trungpa was in a dark room retreat for 40 days and 40 nights, and this is well documented. Okay, and within 40 days or 40 nights, your mind and or so even within a week or two, this can be reached, will, so to speak, merge with dream worlds, transcendent worlds, and it will, so to speak, merge with the transcendent state of things, the continuum. So we can get your mind to merge with this continuum. And there's been different ways to do this in darkness, dark retreat for days straight, and or pitch black for days straight. But then after a while, though, it's not just pitch black anymore. Your mind will project beautiful visions, lights, etc. But the reason I display it this way, because it's backed up by science and evidence. This is an actual spiritual procedure going within. So it's more than a dream world. It's more than vision that these people are having. These monks that have been truly researched by Harvard and Cambridge, that they're really digging into something upon these dark retreats, these sky gazing, whatever they're seeing or going through. It's actually having true developmental focus on them. It's actually having some kind of alchemical effect on their brains, literally. And this has been misunderstood. But I will happily debunk it. Has to do with unlocking the pineal gland. So we can merge your mind somehow with the continuum from 0 point, because like a motor, like if an engine, there's a point that it's never moving, but there's moving everything else. So all these emotions we're feeling, anger, sadness, anything, jealousy, this all can be used in a positive way of transcendence and inner merging what's already deeply in there. So whether it be through quantum meditation or darkroom therapy and or projecting into the sky gazing, whatever we're receiving actually has, and this is why the government has many super secret soldier and or MK11 and or LSD experiment, because they've realized with consciousness comes doorways to different transcendent methods and or phenomena such as telekinesis, levitation, better focus, better speech, better. It's amazing. It really is, and this is and that's what they have figured out. These other cultures, these other civilizations, that when you meld the mind, literally, okay, that there's fundamental transcendence phenomenon with this. So if you can have it from a pristine source without AI, without drugs or anything, all the more it'll be even stronger and pure. But if you're connected to something artificial and or a higher being, how does one know it's not coming from them and their thoughts are their own? So this is kind of the objective here, to make sure that we're independent completely. So during these retreats, all the more we're delving into our own heart and mind. It does take a lot of bravado and braveness and love to know, why am I doing this? Why? For the migration of beings. That's why you need to. That's why we need to. You dig in all the more. and with fear, anger, etc. You remind yourself, I'm doing this for the migration of beings. And with this breath strength, because with breath, there's a lot of chance right there once you breathe in breath to change its effect. It's like a Gnostic flame. The more you change yourself from within, it will change others around you, literally, metaphysically, alchemically, scientifically. So your chakras and your energies are the doorways here. The more you go within, it literally has an effect on everyone, everything around you, on consciousness itself. So again, we can have our own true, so to speak, pristine awareness, because this is why super secret soldiers exist in the first place. And this is what they're trying to experiment with consciousness. That's why they do all these outrageous methods with governments and pharaohs and LSD and herbology. Because mess with consciousness itself, you're gonna have results, literally.
Man, I love when you speak. Is okay, when you mentioned this one color spectrum, is this why your room is just under red light? It looks like just red to black.
Yes, actually, yes, exactly. So I have found a true heart essence way to do this. Everything I speak of, okay, in a safe, okay, way of full of methodologies and keeping it secret and safe for love and migration of beings. So all these oral lineages, dark room strategies, and this light I'm having right now is technically an LED plant light. So it's the same light that plants receive. It's purple light, technically. The reason being is because it has none of those chemicals and or bad radiation waves from other type of lights that are artificially made. So it gives off the same type of lights as plants. And through meditation, it's found actually that we can create our own form of chloroplasts, meaning photosynthesis. And that's why a lot of people and masters and people from Harvard and Cambridge have realized a lot of these masters, once they're properly in this continuum, they don't need to eat and they don't need to drink much. This alters an actual physical part of their body and has to do with the pineal gland and the brain and unlocking certain dormant part of it. And the DNA has a lot of chromosomes that we need to, so to speak, hack into in a pure, pristine way without drugs and herbology and or AI, because we already had it in us. It's an evolution, to for us to progress or degress. Look at dolphins; they have their own little radar, basically, and happens in evolution. And it's been used to dumb us down, so to speak. All of this, and through meditation,
Oh
to
my
keep
God, don't get me
true.
started on dumbing us down. Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
go ahead. You're on a roll. Go ahead, man. I'm
Mhm,
just taking notes.
mhm, mhm. Okay, cool. Yes. So there is definitely a way to touch on this, and these lights, for example, is just one of many ways that we try to dig in. We try so on one field spectrum, there's different ways and there's different things that come to mind. Well, like I said, another one is because this helps the absorption of vitamin D. This helps the absorption of proper nutrients, like a plant. And we have forgotten our way with nature. We really have a lot of us, and it's our fault because that's the goal. That's actually literally part of the goal, like literally. So the more we lose touch with nature, all the more we're going to realize or think certain things are fake and are or more metaphorical than literal. But the ones that are on the top of this use this all the time, this concept in their ways, and it in a way, in a manner, it is genius and fair. It is, but that does not make it right. It is not what's being done here.
That's that's great. This is great. Let me highlight these points we already went over. Man, we need to hang out soon. I wanna come to Texas,
I would love that.
get my new truck if you want to hang out, bro.
Yes, I would love that. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think I'm getting my truck sometime today. My truck caught on fire like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows how. Just burst into flames. I'll show you a video.
Yes,
And
yes,
so I'm
definitely.
getting, it was a black Ford truck, and I'm gonna get a white Ford truck. But I got to spend about a week putting the tires and exhaust and all that crap on it. But once that's lined up, I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come get you, dude. We're gonna have to. This is great. You're good energy. Okay. Yeah. Let's touch on more about. Tell me where we would be if it wasn't for the forces that shouldn't be lowering this earthly vibration of all humanity. Like just where do you think we would be? How far along? What would the world look like without negative alteration?
Oh, that's a great question. It truly, truly is. It actually is, truly. Well, there's evidence that obviously that higher beings are around us 24/7, alien reptilians, all of this, and they're capable of amazing feats in their own right. But see, and the reason I touch on this, because they have elevated in ways that merge with AI in different ways. They have this how they merged, came out on top, whomever, whatever. So for some reason, in a pristine way, humanity, it's a lot has a lot to do with humanity and rising in a transcendence plane, transcendent way. So we're able to affect computers, electromagnetic phenomenon, just by our brain. It's a receiver. As much as input and output, it has control over what goes inside and outside. Our brain is so interesting and so amazing, and it's the most, so to speak, the most amazing quantum computer we can find. So, and this is why phones and devices, it's meant to affect that directly. So if we can fully dig into our brains, our hearts, our pineal glands, and elevate our own consciousness, this will elevate and elongate our physical life, our vitality. We would not have to die, so to speak, at this age that
Well, if
we
we
are
could
doing.
keep our, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if we could keep our telomeres the same size, our DNA, right, wouldn't we
Yeah.
just never age?
Yeah, honestly, yes, yes, right, correct, exactly. Okay, so true. I try to put everything that I put into context in a way that people understand, but you're absolutely right here. At the very least, we would have not the age we have here. Two, we wouldn't have to die at all, because the process of human birth and study of embryology only happens in a way because our human body has to die in the first place. So scientifically speaking, that in a way is mutagenic happening. Now we can have children even after this, and we should. That's awesome. But what happened there was our body figured out, stopped producing these long lives. Our body stopped producing these antibodies that it used to be. Nothing how now is dumbed down our body, mind, spirit everywhere. So, and there's a reason all these spiritual masters, many of them, many Buddha, Shakyamuni, Gautama, Garab, Dorj, even Jesus, they all pointed to the heart essence, and or being able to dig into something to have an alchemical effect. And when a lot of these people were hunted down and or killed for transgressions for bringing this knowledge to the surface. So this was the real reason behind a lot of this. Even a lot of the Nazi party, even the swastika, for example, that was taken from Buddhist temples. Before 1950, that was the symbol for the continuum. Hitler got obsessed with this idea, and he had a lot to do with his cult and their clan, the Illuminati, and he was not the one in charge of this. It was the same pharaohs that are in league for today. So they have been trying to do this for a long time, discover a master race, and the reason he went after the Jews, that was the last Buddha or avatar, so to speak, in this lineage, or these lineages, so to speak of. And there's been dozens. That's the point. It's not just one individual. So we teach in a way that this is matter of factly. Yeah, this is possible, and this is why. And anyone can dig into this. Anyone can. Anyone. So there is no limitations to that. But when you start bringing, okay, you have to know math, you have to know AI and purpose, you start getting a selection here. Only certain people selected here and or. But see, with phenomenon, this meditative consciousness, and this continuum, all this is just a symptom. It just comes anyway. All this mathematics, geometry, it's just a symptom. And we start to see that it's not the intellectuality we should link to, it's the wisdom eye and or the dongma dranma, this light within us, or this rigpa, this awareness, and that's what really we're trying to bond with, and everything else comes as a symptom. So from all the way back to the Nazi party, to before that, to the control of Tibet, to the pharaohs, all this is knowledge that's considered sacred. And these masters found ways to elevate our consciousness, because even back then there's tales of a government and or some kind of conspiracy of control, and these spiritual masters were just here to tell us. They were just here to tell us, literally. That's it. Then true spiritual masters don't want it. They don't want credit. They don't want it. No, they just need humanity to break out, and that's it. They need humanity just to dig in deep, truly dig in and get themselves out of this with love, compassion, and complete methods of pristine consciousness. Because this illumination will illuminate everything like a base from inside out, and this will have such such beautiful effects, such as sickness does not need to happen. Death does not need to happen. It does not. And so to speak, we can levitate, so to speak. We can do this telekinesis, so to speak. That can be our future. But why? This is a big misunderstanding. Why does it need to happen? Protection, love. If when we're, for example, when a mother, and there's been documented science of this, a mother can dig deep and lift a car off her son when she's digging
Yes,
deep into
yes.
motherly. Yes, exactly. So it's there. It's there. But how? Through protection, through love. So down, I mean this literally. So you can, so to speak, put yourself into a meditative state where you can do things that you did not think one could do before. But the reason this must be done is for protecting others. And then that will permanently unlock something, yes, but that's not the point. Okay, so the point is protection, love. And this is why I'm going to dig into this. My evolution, this is why. So you tell yourself on a metaphysical atom level, like under a microscope, so to speak, in meditation, I need to do this. I'm going to do this, and this is how we can dig into this strength, this beautiful, beautiful strength that's always been there, and it's referred to as a mother's love because we all have that inside of us. And true love's kiss will set us free in this way, because it is in a way all back to the apple, and this is misunderstood and yet understood because it's part of the same. It can be done through AI, yes, through technology, through drugs, but the truest way, ourselves, because that's the only way it won't be interrupted. How do we know we're not going to get thoughts from other beings and then we're going to merge them with our own transcendence? That's, you know, it's good technology, they're out there, great, but it's also good technology that's some against our evolution and for and want to use it, and this is imperative. So we really need to dig in deep into that because humans have a chance right here, right now, to make a difference before something happens. For each and every one of us and our kids and our grandchildren to really make a difference for these generations to come, and how their evolution impedes them and directs their process. This needs to be done, truly.
You need to win an award. Um, we just need to hang out. I don't know what else to say. I don't mean to flatter you so much. I'm not kissing your ass. I just
Oh, I can feel that. I definitely
it's
can.
good shit, bro. Seriously, man. You're good shit. I wish we would have met sooner, but I could, you know what? Better late than never. I'm just
Yes,
fortunate that I decided to, inner gaze, if you will, turn on myself with all this free time sitting around with my thumb in my ass because of COVID out in May. I reached out to Tony Rodriguez thinking he'd never reach back out. He did. He did 5 shows with me. And because of that, now I'm here and I'm talking to you. So I think it's great that I've slowly built up this minutia. And I'm very thankful for that because I think without this much free time, I'd be busy either in law school or in Washington, D.C. or high up at some company. So this is neat. This is a neat way to acquire information and keep my mind busy and sharp.
definitely.
Yeah, even though I wish I could do more and learn more, but this is better than nothing, and so I'm very fortunate for this. Um, anyway, is there anything you'd like? I have a bunch of stuff, but is there anything you want to touch on that you want to get out to the audience, man? I mean, I'm just steering this conversation.
For now, we will be on that. I'll be on my passenger seat, and wherever you steer it, I will direct it in this direction. If
Well,
anything comes
here's
to
the deal.
mind,
I don't know everything though. I'd like you to maybe pick up on certain things, and then I can ask you questions about it. Like what is the most important thing that humans need to know in this lifetime if they don't know already?
okay. Well, that's beautiful and simple, but at the same time, this process seems to be misunderstood as so complicated because that's kind of what this side wants, and it's not these lineages' fault in the past. Maybe they didn't understand the time that's approaching. So when I have always had a feeling I need to. I've always been an entrepreneur of enlightenment. I've always sought every single way I can find this answer, this core, this ritpa, so to speak, within. So everything I do, it's non. Everything I do has to be nonprofit. That's the way it needs to be. At least for me, everything needs to be nonprofit. I don't believe in material objects. I don't believe in money. Why? Because our evolution is key here. Our heart, our spirit, and so these meditative practices um, are key, but it needs to be done with love and devotion. And all the more right now, they're trying to dumb us down, they're trying to distract us. All the more we need to realize meditation is how we build up, so to speak, a resistance to all of this happening in a way, and we can help others through this way. Now, that's why I bring up the Samueling Monastery concept under Chagram Tangpa. So, and/or I brought up plants and photosynthesis to how we're all able to dig into something. So this is the greatest, and that's what I mean by love is the greatest weapon. It's a beautiful metaphor and play on words, but also because it comes from the source. So from all the way from the Big Bang, all this is energy and trying to experience itself, have experiences to get to the pinnacle of evolution. So it's just energy experience itself and having a perception of itself. And there's some great yogic paths out there, and there are meditative paths out there, such as Togo or Thodgo, Dzogchen, that really, really dig into this concept of the 0 point energy within. So we really, as a collective, need to realize this is getting to an intense point that it will get into something, whether it's nuclear war, whether it's complete submission under some type of event, it will get to something soon, some type of situation like this. So all the more now we need to dig into our own meditative spirits, our own torsion fields within, because this ironically can counter a lot of this, a lot of the radiation, a lot of chemicals, and/or even much more than this, honestly. But that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, well said. Goddamn. Man, this is good. This is so action packed. You wanna stop here for today, or you wanna make any more points? I think we covered a lot of ground, dude.
That seems good, actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Either
Okay.
way, yeah.
All right. Let me here. Watch it.